In this video, we're going to show you how to install the transmission mount on your Kia Sorento located underneath your air intake box. With the hood open, go ahead and locate your battery right here on the driver's side front portion of the vehicle. We'll use a 10mm socket, our extension and ratchet, to go ahead and loosen the 10mm nut here. Go ahead and give this a twist. Go ahead and pull that up and off and set it aside. We're going to remove our air intake tube. We have to use our Phillips head screwdriver. And normally what you want to do is unscrew the center. And as this comes up, you can use your trim tool to lift it up. Now ours are slightly damaged, but normally the center will come up and you can get your trim tool underneath and lift up the centerpiece and then pop out the bottom. Lift this up, pull it towards you, and set that aside. Now if your battery has this cover over the positive terminal, you're going to push in on this clip and lift that up to expose the terminal. Use your 10mm socket. Lift up the entire unit here. I'm going to give this a twist. Lift it up and off, and just tuck that aside. Now along the front side of the battery, if you go down, there's going to be a clamp right here. This is a securing clamp here. It's a 12mm bolt, so we're going to use our 12mm socket with an extension. We want to loosen and remove this. Now you can use an impact driver or you can use your ratchet like I'm doing. I'm going to remove that bolt and the clamp. With that removed, we can now pull the battery out. Now reach in here, slide that battery, and lift that up and out. Now I want to go ahead and remove our airbox system right here all the way down to our throttle body down below. There's a couple of hose clamps here. I'll slide these hose clamps back. Break these free. Now down below where the hose attaches to our throttle body, there's a clamp down there. We're going to use a 10mm socket for our particular clamp. You might be able to use a flathead screwdriver, but you want to go ahead and loosen this clamp. Now as for the box unit itself, there's going to be 3 10mm bolts. There's 2 right in the front here and 1 in the back by the strut tower. Want to loosen and remove all 3 of these. Go ahead and wiggle this off of the throttle body. And go ahead and lift this up and out. Pop off the upper engine cover by gently just pulling upward. We're dislodging the rubber grommets from the studs on the valve cover. Go ahead and set that aside. Let's go ahead and pull our battery tray up and out of the way. In order to do so, we need to remove the 4 12mm bolts. how all these bolts are all the same size, so you don't have to worry about the position of them when they go back in. Now we're going to go ahead and move this, but first we're going to disconnect the little mounting tab right here for the wiring harness. You can use a pair of pliers, which is what we're going to do, to go ahead and pinch those tabs back. Now, in order to replace our transmission mount here, we have two large bolts. We have a horizontal bolt that goes through here. And then inside the wheel well, there's going to be two studs that come through. So we have to remove two nuts on the inside there. Before we tackle any of this, we're going to go ahead and put a jack underneath the transmission to go ahead and support this so we can safely remove this without this dropping down. Now we have our floor jack here with a block of wood on there. We're going to gently put this up underneath our transmission. Now we're not going to lift the vehicle, but you do want to apply a little bit of upward pressure just to support it. We're not raising the engine or the transmission with the jack. It's literally there to support it while we undo our bolts. Now we're going to use our 17mm socket on the bolt side here. We're going to go ahead and spray this down with some rust penetrant. Just kind of soak this down all around. I'll let that set up for a little bit, and then we'll go ahead and try and loosen that. So we had a little bit longer extension on there. Pull up our battery tray. We'll get a little bit more further throw on there. Let's switch over to our power tools. Now you can see the transmission moving. You might have to go ahead and jack this up just a little bit. And you see that that dropped down a little bit. So go ahead and jack that up a little bit. Remove our power tool, set that aside, and slide that bolt out. You can see it's still a little bit stuck. You can manipulate that jack as needed to go ahead and get this to line up a little bit better. There it is. Go ahead and set that aside. Now we want to go ahead and remove these two bolts. These are 17mm. This one here on our particular model vehicle, you can't really get a socket on there because of this bracket holding this unit. So we're going to undo this 10mm bolt right here. That gives us just a little bit of wiggle room where we can get our socket in there. Now we can go ahead and pull back on our bracket. I'm going to use our 17mm swivel here. Remove those two bolts. Let's move to the inner wheel well and remove the two nuts inside there. Using a 21mm socket, loosen and remove your lug nuts. Go ahead and grab your wheel, remove it, and set it aside. Now with the wheel removed, you're going to locate the two rubber plugs right here. I'm going to go ahead and use a trim tool and literally just go in there and get behind it and pop that open. You want to do this for both of these plugs. And this is going to give us access to the two nuts here we need to remove. Using our 17mm socket, let's go ahead and loosen and remove these nuts. Push that mount through. All right, let's go back up into the engine compartment and pull that out. In order for us to pull out this mount here completely, we're now going to go ahead and undo the 4 17mm bolts holding the bracket here. Let's go ahead and do that next. going to gather up these bolts here. Set those aside, get this last one. I'm going to show you here why you have to remove that bracket. So when you go to pull the mount out, the side of the flange here hits this portion of the mount. So when you pull it back to get the studs out of the frame here, the flange here on the mount hits this bracket. So that's why you have to remove this bracket to get the mount out. Now before you install the motor mount, it does come with the dampers here. And there's two little notches in it that line up with the mount itself. And if you flip this over, it has a recessed part that goes inward. So this side here is nice and smooth, so you want to line this up. Now the other thing you're paying attention to is you want to run the strap underneath the mount, so you have your studs on the bottom. The strap is going to go underneath. So go ahead and line this up. Line up those ears. Might be this one here. There it is. Push that on, bring that over, and just like that, lines up perfect. So if it's not going on, don't force it, just flip it over. Now our mount is ready to install. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and take our new mount, slide this down. Now the pivot point actually fits into a steel cradle on our bracket, so it's almost self-aligning. We did run our bolt through the wire wheel machine, and then we put a little bit of anti-seize compound on those threads. Let's go ahead and run that in. Now we're not going to tighten this. We want everything to work nice and freely like that. Let's go ahead and lower this down into the vehicle. I'm going to go ahead and start to jack up our transmission here. I'm going to go ahead and tighten down the 4 bolts on our bracket. Now we have to use the pry bar on this with a little bit of assistance because our old bushing on our transmission mount was so bad that our motor and everything had shifted. Now at this point we have 2 bolts in. We can go ahead and release that pry bar. I'm going to use our impact driver to go ahead and tighten that down. You do want to make sure those are good and tight. We're going to remove our pry bar. And at this point, we have our 4 bolts anchored here, these 2 here. I want to go into the wheel well and install the 2 nuts down there, snug those down, install all the rubber plugs, and then come tighten down our horizontal bolt. Now to make it easier, I'm going to go ahead and put my nut inside the socket and go ahead and get that started, a few threads. the same for this one. Let's go ahead and snug them down, make them good and tight. Take your rubber plugs, push those in. All right, now we're going to go ahead and lower our jack from underneath the front of the vehicle. Remove that. Now with everything settled into place here, we're going to go ahead and tighten down that bolt. We do want to make sure this is good and tight. Once that's good and tight, we're going to go ahead and install the 10mm bolt on our bracket right here. Snug this down. Once we have that snug, we're now going to go ahead and install the 4 bolts on our battery tray. Then take a harness, go ahead and plug that harness retainer into that bracket. I like to go ahead and get all of our bolts started. Just a couple threads by hand first, and then we'll come on back and snug all these down. Let's go ahead and lower our air intake box down into place. I'm going to line up my intake tube with the throttle body. We simply want to go ahead and get this started by hand. Get this set up. I'm going to go ahead and pop my vacuum hoses on. I'm going to grab my pliers here and go ahead and move those clamps over and into position. I'm going to install the 3 bolts. Get that started, and then get the one on the back started here. Now that we have everything installed here, let's go ahead and snug these down. Now you just want to snug these down until it stops. And then we have our air intake tube. We have the hose clamp on this. Just want to snug that clamp down. Go ahead and give that a good wiggle. Install the upper engine cover. Go ahead and grab that battery. Lower it down into position. You want to make sure that your ground terminal is pulled out of the way. Now we want to make sure that the battery is slid as far back as possible, because there's a retaining bar on the back that locks into the bottom portion of the battery. I want to take our hold down clamp here. We did put a little bit of AC's compound on the threads. Let's go ahead and snug that down. And once you feel that bottom out, like pretty much, you want to make sure it's good and snug, but you don't have to make it super tight. But you can definitely tell that that is bottomed out. Go ahead and grab that positive terminal. Install that. Snug down the securing nut here. Once that bottoms out, just give it a little bit more. You do want to make sure it's good and snug. Give this a twist. If the clamp itself is moving, you definitely need to tighten that down a little more. Give it a little wiggle. All right, and our positive terminal is now secured. Close the cap. Install this onto our air filter box. Bring this down. You want to take your buttons here, install the lower portion, and then push down on the center and secure that. You're going to do that for all three. Well, sometimes these plastic buttons, they do break, so you'll have to source some replacements. Install your ground terminal. You want to make sure that that's down as far as it'll go on that post. Go ahead and secure this. And make sure it's good and tight. Give that terminal a wiggle, make sure it's good and secured. And you're all set. Go ahead and grab your wheel. Line that up on the studs. I'm going to go ahead and install the lug nuts. I want to go ahead and start all of these by hand. And once they're all started, we'll come back and snug them down. Go ahead and torque down your lug nuts to 75 foot-pounds. You want to go ahead and do this in a crisscross pattern. And you're all set.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.